talk about scale because truthfully, too many founders chase scale without knowing what they're actually scaling. The goal isn't always more revenue, it's more value. And today's guest understands that at a very deep level. Michael Hartel didn't just stumble into franchising, he engineered it, literally. PhD in engineering, process driven operator, former home builder, and now the founder and CEO of Cabinet IQ, a high tech cabinet and countertop franchise transforming a fragmented $134 billion remodeling industry. His corporate locations have posted revenues north of $2 million in one and north of 1.7 million in another, respectively. And he's built systems around this, not just personality. And that's what we will be unpacking today. So let's jump it over to Michael. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Excited to drop in.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's jump into kind of like the origin story, so to speak. You got a PhD in engineering, but you've gone corporate. So why cabinets? Why this industry? Why did you select Cabinet IQ?
Yeah, great question. So I went to the University of Florida for my master's and PhD in material science. So I studied, it's called photovoltaics, organic photovoltaics. So basically taking the energy from sunlight and turning it into electricity. And it was a really cool industry, a lot of technology, process, discovery. It's really where I learned how to learn, is what I like to say. Grad school is awesome, a lot of creativity, a lot of flexibility. But the problem happened when I graduated, and all of that creativity and academic freedom was ripped away from me. And they gave me a desk and 2 computer monitors and told me that my TPS reports were due on Wednesdays. And I just really didn't enjoy the work. It just was not fulfilling at all. And I decided to start flipping houses for fun. So as a hobby, started renovating and moved into the construction industry. And got my feet wet in my own projects, making mistakes, learning how to build more efficiently and run crews and stay organized. And eventually people started asking me to renovate their own homes. So I moved into kitchen and bath remodeling, new construction homes, building multi-million-dollar homes here in Austin, beautiful high-end stuff with great architects and interior designers. And I kept bumping into the same problem, and that's kitchen cabinets or cabinets in general for a home. So as an engineer, I had a great process, great communication, preparation. I could control the whole building aspect, except at the end of the project, which is where the cabinets go in, I was stroking these massive checks, $50,000 up to several $100,000 for these big homes of cabinets. And I would literally just have to cross my fingers and pray that they weren't going to screw it up. And there's a lot of people out there that can build a great cabinet. They're great carpenters, they're great craftsmen. But when it comes to business and timelines and customer service, I'd give them like a C- at best. And when you're building a project for a customer and you're almost done, then you have to call them up and say, Mrs. Smith, I know I said I was going to have your project done by Christmas, but I think it's going to be after the new year now, and I don't even know when. I hated taking that accountability. So I basically started this company 10 years ago to sell cabinets to myself because I knew I was going to show up on time and I knew I'd do a good job. And that was really the origin. And we grew to a couple of corporate stores in Austin, and they were running themselves. I had great people in place, and I kind of started looking at other growth methods, and I came across franchising, and I read an article, a big, long, lengthy article about franchising. And it just really struck me as the way that I wanted to build this business. I love building systems, but more importantly, I love seeing people win. I love building teams. And I just remember when I was, working a job that I didn't like at all, it sucks. It really sucks. And the thought of giving someone an opportunity and a vehicle for wealth creation in an industry that is, it's fun. It's a fun industry. There's a lot of impact to customers' lives. And when you build these relationships and they know, like, and trust you, it's a really fun business to be in.
I love that. And shout out for the listeners. You really got to listen to this. Michael didn't go chase passion. He identified it in inefficiency. most industries being fragmented, but few founders are disciplined enough to systemize them. Obviously, you had the background to do just that. You created a company really to service yourself, but ultimately you found a niche. You found something that not only you could use, but many other people could use as well. That's growth blueprint thinking right there.
Yeah, thank you.
Outside of the obvious, you created the company really to fulfill a self need. But as you got beyond yourself as the client and you first really entered into the space, what did you see that was broken?
A lot of it was around project management and communication. And with a project like this, you really need to stay on top of stuff and make sure that things get delivered on time. And I'll back up even further before the job starts. What's interesting about our industry is that cabinets can range, we'll call it from $10,000 to $100,000 for the exact same space. There's literally a 10x difference in quality and warranty, finish, et cetera. And not only that, there's also a chaos of choice of door styles and colors, and there's just so much out there. So when a customer comes to us, we have a beautiful way of kind of having the self-interview, or this mutual interview process where we ask the right questions. A lot of cabinet companies, I think, get it wrong, where they hold up a cabinet door and they say, here's a white shaker cabinet, do you want to buy it? And they forget to ask the important questions like, do you entertain in the home? How many people are in the kitchen at the same time? Are you left-handed or right-handed? It matters which way you load the dishwasher and the way we design. How long do you plan to stay in the home? If you're going to be moving in 2 years, it might not make sense to invest, this much in it. So we have a beautiful way of getting the information from the client so that we as professionals can curate the right design and product selection for them, so that the great experience with our company starts before the job even starts, if that makes sense. Moving into technology and moving into process, I made a list of everything I did wrong. I had this running list when I started, and it ended up being a 57-point quality assurance review that we go through before we click the order button. Most people in our industry, they'll look at a kitchen once, they'll design it, the customer pays, and they just click order, and they cross their fingers that nothing's going to go wrong. And sure enough, the tiniest details can throw off a project. So what we've created is not just that process, but also the technology platform behind it to manage it. And it's a testament to our franchisees doing well right now. It's 5 stars across the board for all of our system, and you don't get there without a great process. Tearing apart the heart of someone's home and putting it back together with a 5-star experience every single time is not something that's been done before.
I absolutely love so many things about what you just said. You didn't add complexity. You really removed chaos. You got an end-to-end 5-star process, 57-point, I believe is what you said, quality control mechanism built in there, and a take-enabled communication method, both for your franchisees and ultimately for the customers as well. So that's a humongous value creation right there. Amazing job.
Yeah, thank you.
When did you really realize that this could be more than a corporate business, but it could be a franchisable business?
I would say, as a founder, watching sales be generated by our franchisees is really when I don't want to say believed in it for the first time, but it started validating, like, hey, I have this idea. It works in Austin, Texas. How about, Huntsville, Alabama, Fort Myers, Raleigh, North Carolina? The first franchisees that started opening up. I think my favorite story is we had one of our franchisees left training, and we actually sell design retainers. So we don't just sell the full package right up front. We ask them for a small deposit before we start really spending a lot of time with them. And we had a franchisee leave training and just start closing these retainers back to back to back to back to back. And we are all taking notice. We get little dings and notifications and watching the sales. And my COO wrote them an email. It's like, congratulations on all these sales. What are you guys doing? And they wrote back in all caps, just trusting the process, exclamation mark. And it made me so happy because I don't know what we were expecting their answer to be, but that's we told them in training, like, you have to follow 100% of this, because if you don't, then it doesn't work. And for them to be believers in the system and just run that playbook and just start selling, it made me really happy. So I think that was the moment where I'm like, okay, what we built is super legit. It's working, and it's working for people that aren't from the industry. So they actually have a competitive advantage where they don't come in with, industry bad habits and doing things kind of backwards like the industry is used to. They have fresh eyes, fresh minds, and they follow this playbook, and it works.
That's amazing. A playbook that is functional, usable, executable, and delivers results is quite literally the nutshell of the franchise space. I'd love to dive in slightly deeper into like individual locations, and my numbers might be slightly off, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But the Cedar Park location had over 2 million in gross revenue. Austin was north of 1.7, and you even had a franchise unit that generated 520,000 or something like that in their first 6 months. What drives that kind of performance?
I would say the sales process. When I'll ask you this question: if you were to go shop for kitchen cabinets, how many places would you visit before you made a buying decision?
Knowing my wife, to answer that question, at least 2 or 3, but
2 or 3.
I'm traditionally going to pick, the better of the quality ones, or the one that she picks, one of those.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So 2 or 3 is actually the national average. There's a statistic that was done a couple of years ago where they surveyed a lot of homeowners and had that exact question. Hardly anyone visits one because it's such a big ticket. Almost everyone visits either 2 or 3, and then it falls back off, or most people don't visit 4 either. So what does that mean? It means if we're just a little bit better than 1 or 2 of our competitors, we win that business. So this is an industry where they really have to know, like, and trust you. And when they feel comfortable with you, it's really not about price anymore, but the value that you show them, the process. And we're very open with our playbook of how we operate. And that's really one of our biggest strengths, is we show a customer that kitchen remodeling can be complicated, but we're professionals. And watch from us sitting here where you don't know anything about anything all the way through the project being finished. We show them what that process looks like in about 15 minutes. And when they're done with that, they're like, okay, this company's dialed in. They have great reviews. I like their products. I like the person that's asking me personal questions about my life and about entertaining and guests and all these other things that matter to kitchen design, when no one else is doing that. And when you can differentiate yourself, price becomes probably 3rd or 4th on the list of things people care about. So when we can earn people's trust like that, maybe they do go visit 1 or 2 other places. They circle back around with us and say, we're ready to get started. So I think it starts with the sales process. I think it starts with a great marketing playbook, both on the B2C side and the B2B side. We work with a ton of contractors who trust us. If you ask a contractor what they care about the most, it's just, I want it done on time, and I don't want to babysit you. And our system is set up for that. So contractors have to deal with multiple subs, right? Electricians, plumbers, HVAC, flooring, paint, I can go on and on. And we're consistently favored as their favorite subcontractor for home builders. Like, I've gotten phone calls and it's like, hey, we just got out of a meeting with our team and I just want to give you props on the company you built, because you're the only company we didn't complain about in our monthly meeting. And that feels really good. And that B2C is important, where people come off the street into our beautiful showroom and do business with us. The B2B side is equally as important, because I consider this recurring revenue. When you build a relationship like a contractor and they just walk in a customer and they say, this is Mrs. Smith, we're building her home, meet her and help her out. That lead costs $0. The customer acquisition cost is 0. And you really start driving down your marketing spend once you have these recurring relationships built. So that's what we train our system and our owners on.
I love that. This is where the audience should be leaning in. I heard several things in there: high average tickets, competitor differentiation, a strong 15-minute-ish close, beautiful showroom that you can show off your product to somebody, and the ability to have both B2B and B2C clientele is simply a complete differentiating factor. That's margin protection. That's a service business that scales and destroys EBITDA multiplier. So that's amazing. Michael, what operational discipline protects profitability as a franchisee begins to scale?
Yeah, great question. It's going to come down to those things I mentioned earlier about the quality assurance review. We have built a system where we don't just measure once and cut once, like, and create mistakes. So we have a process where the kitchen is designed by a professional kitchen designer that the franchisee hires with our help. The owner actually goes out and goes through a remeasure checklist, and they check for a bunch of stuff that could throw wrenches in the project. Even if it's not our responsibility, but it's peripheral to what we're working on and could cause an issue, we look that over as well. So we're almost like a mini general contractor for that space. Outside of that, the quality assurance review, if you just go through it, I know 57 points sounds like a lot, but it's an hour and a half that you spend just verifying everything's going to be fine. Similarly to a pilot, where they don't just get in and pull the yoke and take off. They're checking things, right? There's a checklist, and that's how people get to location safely. So we've taken some of that perspective on checklists into our system. The other thing too is around, we actually built our own custom CRM. I spent almost a year interviewing all the out-of-the-box CRMs that you know of and anyone in the industry probably knows of. None of them worked great for our industry. So we had to sit and build one from scratch. From the time a lead comes in, it's got some marketing stuff that goes out, some things that kick off with both text and emails. And it's a way to manage your pipeline from start to finish, all the way through. When a project finishes, it sends the customer a review request. So it's truly a cradle to grave solution for our industry. And I think having something like that, you don't lose track of customers, you don't lose track of where they're at. And this is more about customer experience than profitability. But when a customer gets the information they need exactly when they need it, and not before or after, the process goes so easy. Because Joe, if you paid for a set of kitchen cabinets on a Sunday night at 9 p.m. and it's $80,000, in the morning you're probably going to call that company and say, "Hey, I just paid my invoice. What happens next?" Right? Like, it's just a natural thing to do. We've implemented a lot of triggers where if something happens, the customer learns this. When this happens, the customer gets that. So not needing to answer basic questions over and over allows the franchise owner to build their business and not answer questions over and over, and to stay very organized, where it's a very controlled environment instead of kind of running around with your head cut off like construction can be. So I think those are the two big things: the CRM, the process, the checklist, and yeah, they're robust. It's a really good process to follow.
Heck yeah. Tech stack is a major decision-making point for any franchise buyer. And obviously you guys are an exceptionally tech-forward brand. You already referenced the CRM system, and I've seen your tool that you use. It's AI generated, it's got 2D and 3D renderings, all that kind of stuff. So how does that technology and leveraging it help output a salesperson? Does it just go faster, or does it actually make a better customer experience?
I think it's both. I think it's a combination of both. I think AI voice isn't where it should be. There's a lot of hype around AI. People like it. It's a buzzword. When it comes down to actually implementing it in businesses, I know a lot of businesses struggle to, not just with adoption, but with it actually even working. I think AI voice isn't where it needs to be right now, at least for me personally. AI texting through a lot of different platforms out there. I'm not going to get into the AI tech stacks, but there's a lot of great technology on appointment booking. So when a lead is filled out online, that person really wants to hear from someone. Speed of lead in home services is so critical. If you're not messaging a customer within 5 minutes of them filling out a form, you're going to lose that customer to someone that did. And that's, I can go through all the industry stats. It's so critical to message as soon as the form is filled out and keep that conversation going. So that's what we're building. And what we built is a platform that talks to the customer as soon as they fill out the form, because that's when they're most excited. That's when they're excited. They filled out a form, they're waiting to hear back. They may even be standing in their kitchen where they can snap some photos like we asked them to do and send them to us, as well as inspiration photos. They're probably already doing this stuff. So if you hit them in that moment, you're going to be 2 or 3 steps ahead of the mom and pop cabinet shop who is going to wait until Monday morning after the meetings and after everything else and after their fires are put out to start checking email, and they see a new lead and they call them. That customer might even already be in our showroom with a booked appointment at that point. So if you get way ahead of someone, the chance of that company catching back up is so slim. So we have appointment booking that helps, as well as some of the AI visualizations. You can go on our website actually and upload a picture of your existing kitchen and then swipe through different options for colors and door styles. It's pretty neat. It's more of a lead magnet for us. To unlock the AI tool, you need to give us your first name, last name, email address, and then the zip code you're in, so we can route that lead to the right franchisee.
I love it. You're creating a barrier of entry for them to be able to get in and leverage and use your tech, but obviously the tech is something that can ultimately help convert the deal as well. So that's fantastic. You guys have a showroom. I haven't personally been there, but I've seen videos and pictures that looks beautiful. I'm coming to Austin in the near future. I would love to see it in person next time, but there are some investors out there that I've spoken to that hesitate when it comes to showroom-based models. I believe yours is like 1,800 to 2,200 square feet, somewhere in kind of that realm. Why is physical presence essential?
I'll ask you this question. Would you buy $80,000 worth of cabinets from some guy sitting at your kitchen table? Or would you and your wife want to go into the showroom to take a look and feel it and touch it and sit inside of the kitchen that you're about to buy?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't spend that dollar amount. No.
Yeah. So that's really the reason. Is it's a very physical, emotional purchase, and people want to come and see it. They want to drive to the showroom. They want to feel the samples. They want to sit inside of finished kitchens. Our showroom isn't full of product; it's full of inspiration. So when you walk in, it's the ceilings are painted black. There's no fluorescent lights. They're actually the same light bulbs as you'd use in your house as recessed can lights. They're finished, beautiful kitchens, and it smells like the Ritz-Carlton. When you walk into our showroom, you're going to get hit with the Ritz-Carlton scent. And I made a joke a little while ago. At some point, someone's going to walk into the Ritz-Carlton and say, "It smells like Cabinet IQ in here," because they're going to be in our showroom before they visited the Ritz-Carlton. So that shopping experience matters. And, it's the difference between, shopping for clothes and going to, I don't know, Burlington Coat Factory versus going to, I don't know, I don't really shop for clothes that often, but like, Gucci or something. When you walk in and it just feels different, it feels more expensive. But then when you start comparing prices to competitors, if it's the same, just psychologically, you're going to go with the place that felt more expensive. So that's why it's important. It's important for lead generation too. Brick and mortar businesses are favored over service-based businesses that don't have a physical destination. So you're going to get more traffic, more walk-ins. You're going to have signage on the street, so people are going to recognize your business. It's a place to hold events. We hold multiple events a year that are attended by 100 to 200 people. They're big events and they're fun to put on. It's a part of our marketing budget. And when you draw people into a place like that, word gets out. It's a beautiful showroom, great staff. It's a place for interior designers who don't have an office to take their clients. We have an office where they can kind of close the doors and have their own meeting and show our products, obviously, but bring tile samples or flooring and host events for themselves as well. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. We make it as painless as possible as an organization. We have a national construction team. Yeah, let me back up. We have a national real estate team that helps them identify the exact spot they need to go in. Our team designs the showroom down to the last penny piece, light fixture, doorknob, hinge. Everything is designed by us. There's no decisions that are needed to be made by a franchisee. And then we have a national construction team that builds these things out. So we're basically getting to the point now where they just need to sign the lease and then cut some checks during the construction process and then pick up their keys, when it's ready to move into. So that's really the big reason. The industry needs showrooms is the reason. This isn't a mobile, bring a couple of samples to someone's home and try to sell it. It's a different type of business than that. And also when you have employees, it's nice having employees that have a home base. We're able to attract some top talent because of how our showrooms look. Top talent in every city wants to work for the nicest, newest, coolest showroom. And when you stack on the tech that we have, we show them things that no one in this industry has ever done before, even thought of. We're able to attract some really, really great talent into our system. And those employees don't really like working from home. They want to dress up a little bit. They're designers. They want to meet people in the showroom. They want to have a nice desk and a nice work environment. So there's a lot that goes into it.
I love it, and I couldn't agree more. Speaking as a customer who's bought cabinets before, you're not going to spend 30 to 100 grand without having confidence in who you're spending it with. And showrooms create trust. Trust increases close rate. Close rate protects CAC. Protected CAC protects EBITDA. So, like, all of the things work together when you have a physical space in this particular type of blueprint. So I couldn't agree more.
That's right. But I do want to mention one thing. Brick and mortar is scary because you traditionally can't start making money until your showroom is open. And what I mean by that is if you take a cookie business or a gym concept, you're not making any money until your doors are open, you have customers through the door. And what's really cool about our brick and mortar concept is we do what are called pre-sales. So we're starting this lead generation with the franchisees along their side to get builders, interior designers, and even customers. We're selling to them even before the showroom opens. And it's really the only brick and mortar business I know of that you can make significant income before the showroom is even open. So we're trying to get them to a break-even point even before their showroom is open. And when they're talking to builders, remodelers, interior designers, architects, and they're building their business, by the time their showroom opens, they have a list of several hundred people, 300 to 400 contacts in their CRM. And all those people are pumped to see the new showroom because we hype it up. So at these grand openings, 100 people is kind of the minimum I've seen. Maybe like 125 people that come through the doors for the grand opening, and they walk in, and I always stand by the front. I love seeing people's faces when they walk in, and they say "wow." They say "wow" when they walk in, and it just makes me feel really good to own a brand where when someone walks in, they say "wow," and that's really the intention.
Got the wow factor. You definitely have that. Transitioning a little bit to the actual franchisee candidates. You don't require like design or home service background, but I mean, not everybody's a perfect fit for every model. So who wins inside your model? What are the traits that you all look for the most that makes a great franchisee?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, the ability to follow a process is important. Having someone come in and go completely rogue and try to think that they need to build a business on their own. And I'm sure this is for all systems, but I'm just telling you, this is the first thing that popped in my head. Someone that understands what we built works when you follow it. That's important. So just getting their buy-in even before coming to confirmation day of, hey, what's your comfort level with doing what we ask you to do? Because if you're going to start doing, 80% of what we say, you're kind of on your own in the sense of, uncharted territory. So the ability to follow a process. The big one for me that I've seen is the ability to connect to someone else. So it's almost an intangible that I can't put down on paper, but have you ever met someone and you walk away from the conversation and you're like, that's a really cool person, and maybe it was just how present they were and the questions they asked and just how like locked in they were to caring about you. Those sort of people are generating really good business right now. And I'll give you a tactical piece. So we don't sell appliances. We don't sell flooring. We stick to what we're the best in the world at, which is cabinets and countertops. So what that means is we need adjacent, we call them allied trade professionals. So appliance companies, flooring stores, tile stores, plumbing and lighting stores. we ask our franchisees, our owners, to walk into an appliance store and say, my name is Michael. I'm the owner of Cabinet IQ. We're building a beautiful showroom down the street. We only do cabinets and countertops. I'm actually looking for a great referral partner to send my clients to for appliances. So would you mind showing me around, talking about your process? I'd love to learn more about what it's like when my customer comes in. So you go in, you lead with value, you listen, and learn about appliances, learn about their business, and more importantly, make a friend that you can send business to. Because what salesperson doesn't want leads popping up in their inbox? So I share that with you because people who are doing really well right now love that kind of stuff. The B2B networking, people that have been in tech sales or medical device sales, they're just used to the gift of the gab and meeting people and building trust. Those people are doing really, really well right now. Outside of that, work ethic, this isn't a type of business in my mind that you hire a general manager and hope that your investment is going to be taken care of. I really want people who are owner operator that can learn the business, execute the business, and then hire the people that they need when the time is right to replace themselves. So this isn't a get rich quick scheme. This isn't I'm going to be making X amount of dollars in 6 months. This is a business that's going to last. People always need cabinets, but I want the owner to be very involved. I've just, quite frankly, seen systems that sell semi-absentee, and then I check in with the founders, a couple of years later, and they're like, it's kind of a train wreck. I probably shouldn't have done that. And it just, maybe this is too candid of feedback, but my job as a founder is to make as many people as successful as possible. And a part of that is setting the expectations of what it takes to be successful in this business. And that means knowing your business, knowing the numbers, knowing how to do the things, making good hires, pulling yourself out from things you don't want to do anymore, and really be on that B2B, B2C business generation. So does that make sense? A little bit of a long answer, but we definitely like our owner operators that are in it, people that are just great to connect with, people that you'd like to have a coffee or a beer with, and then, work ethic, getting this thing off the ground. Business ownership isn't easy. It doesn't matter if it's a franchise or not. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of drinking from a fire hose until you get to a certain point. And people with grit are doing great right now.
I couldn't agree more. It was really everything that you just said. Certainly having the capability, the gift of gab, the networking, all those things are important. But the whole owner operator thing, speaking as a serial entrepreneur who started, scaled, and exited multiple businesses, except several of them franchises, there really is not too many true semi-absentee or executive models out there. Almost everything has to be owner operator, or at least have an owner operator mindset. You're putting your money into it. You need to be in it, not just with money, but with yourself, with your whatever skills you bring to the table for that thing to be as best as it can be. If you're trying to just hire somebody, at least initially out the gate, more often than not, it doesn't work. So that's definitely something that I share with my clients every single day. Help over 1,000 people get into the franchise space at this point. And those are one of the first few questions. How much time can you invest into a business if you bought in? And if they're saying I do 5 hours a week, like I got a very short list to give to you. If they're at least able to put in a half decent amount of time, 20 plus hours a week, then we have a whole bunch of more models that make sense. Certainly yours is one of them, because you got to be present in order to get performance. Presence is a piece of performance.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Joe.
So from what I've reviewed on like the FDD and stuff, your typical break even is around 18 months or so, give or take. Obviously, everybody's a little bit different. Certainly, you have the capacity to do that even before the showroom opens if you have a lot of those pre-sales. But for founders that are evaluating risk, what can accelerate that break even and get like those pre-sales really populated before the showroom even opens? And then the opposite, what slows it down if they don't do it?
Yeah, people are breaking even a lot faster than that. And the key to success is really the business to business development, going out there and hustling. So search engine optimization, we're really good at. We're excellent at search engine optimization. But no matter what you do, it takes some time to kind of climb up the rankings. It could take some time. So until that happens, we really got to be pounding the pavement. Like I said, walking into appliance stores and making connections. And then when you get a lead that says, my name is Mrs. Smith, I want to remodel my kitchen, that's an opportunity to send a lot of people some business. And the more you can do that and focus on referrals, sending referrals, you're going to get them back. The law of human reciprocity, it's going to come back to you. It may not be today or tomorrow, but people will remember those things. So the key is to form those relationships early. We actually have an outbound call center. I know a lot of brands have inbound and they take calls for the franchisees. I actually want the owners answering their own phones, at least starting out, to talk to people and get the things out of their mouth that they need to say to be successful. But we have an outbound call center that calls every single issued construction permit that's issued in their territory. And they're talking to basically a professional on the other line who just pulled a permit, who just had a virtual assistant talk to them on the phone. And we call them executive assistants. And they're actually setting up appointments with our franchisees. So they're getting 5 to 10 at-bats a week right now, talking to contractors. And business comes out of that. It's actually our second highest system-wide sales lead source. And that comes from being on the phone quite a bit, building trust with contractors, bidding out plans, communicating the differentiator between our brand and closing, big tickets. So that happens out of the gate. Going to networking events, the Home Builders Association, it's really comes out of the networking and getting people to let you quote their projects.
Love it. I love it. If we could zoom out for a second and kind of forecast out in the future, look 5-10 years ahead, where do you see Cabinet IQ being in the franchise space and entrepreneurial value? Like, what's the next 5 to 10 years look like?
Yeah. Well, I know when homeowners start thinking about cabinets or countertops, we're going to be the brand that people think of. So, for example, if you were to drop me off in the middle of Omaha, Nebraska, and I needed to buy a laptop, the only thing I could think about would be to Google Best Buy and drive over there and buy a computer. That's just me personally. You may have your own brand or other store, but being recognized in the space that the company who does it right every single time because of robust processes with the nation's most reviews, highest rated, that's going to be what people feel about our brand. And we're actually already seeing this. People are moving. They do a project with Cabinet IQ. They go to a different city, and those people that find us aren't searching cabinet company. You know what they're searching? Cabinet IQ.
Cabinet IQ.
At Google, yeah. And we can track all that stuff. All that data is tracked. They search Cabinet IQ. They come to us, and then they tell us a story. We just had a job done in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we just bought this other home. You guys sell the same products? Of course we do, right? That's the benefit of consistency across the nation. So that's going to be amazing to see. A continued investment into AI. I think AI is really driving a couple of cool things in our industry that I'm keeping track of and waiting for it to be mature enough to implement. And I'll give you a kind of a one-off. I grew up watching Home Improvement with Tim Allen. I think like a lot of people did. And getting a national spokesperson like that to promote our brand, I think it could be really cool. So moving more into the national TV commercials and someone with like his sort of stature with Home Improvement could be pretty neat. So those are the things that I have in my mind. We're opening up about 3 showrooms per month right now. So in 5 years, the market's going to be saturated and in a good way. We're not going into the middle of the cornfields or high up into the mountains. We're really in Class A cities and identifying the places that Cabinet IQs belong. So that's where my mind goes. 10 years is pretty far, but I have a kind of a 5-year vision for what this looks like.
I love it. I love the vision. Thank you for sharing that. I couldn't agree more that there's nothing but upward trajectory for your particular brand. I was literally talking to a client yesterday by y'all and I said, can you just hold until tomorrow so you can hear it from the guy himself? So you better be on You know who I'm talking about. If not, I'll send you the recording and then you're going to watch it. But this is a brand that's got legs, that's going somewhere. To your point, you've already created competitive differentiation. You have scalability across the entire US. You have defined processes, documented systems, pretty lean labor model, scalable footprint, vendor partnerships. Like, you got it all. It's a hand to a franchisee and make them successful. So what advice would you give a founder who's trapped inside of their own daily operation? They're running their own small business, but getting stuck. What advice would you give to that type of person?
Meditate and think about what's holding you back and write it down and go execute. Because we can all think about what's holding us back. And I think once it's on paper and we take action and we see it, maybe it's a tough conversation we need to have with an employee. Maybe it's someone that's not on our team that we need. I'm a big believer in, we use the culture index survey to understand who we are and what makes us tick. So when you're building an organization and you're not paying attention to personality tests like that, I think it's a massive, massive mistake. So I think a lot of it is around team building, understand who you need on your team to complement you as a founder. Most founders have like a captain profile, super ambitious, not patient, not quite into the details either, kind of midline on talkative. They could be an extrovert or introvert. It's kind of a normal profile for a founder. You're missing people on your team probably that could be more of an executor, that are into the details, that are into patience, that are into writing SOPs and building systems out. Because as a founder, if you're just generating ideas and you're not executing, you're doing yourself, your brand, and your franchisees a disservice. So it's not just about idea generation, it's about execution and keeping the main thing, right? Keeping the main thing, how quickly can we get franchisees to profitability? What's the whatever dream they have, where do we go from here to their dream, and building a plan with them to get there.
It's freaking fantastic. There's so many things that I love about that piece. The whole good to great thing, that there's always going to be more good than you have the capacity to execute. So focus on the great and just execute those things exceptionally well. So I love that advice, Michael. I'm pretty dang confident that at least one person that I spoke to yesterday, you know who I'm talking about, at least one person in the audience, if not more than one person, has been listening to this and is now wanting more info. So if we have someone like that, how do they reach out to you and your team to get more information?
They reach out to you, Joe, and you can see if they're a good fit for us.
I love that answer. I love that answer. Reach out to Joe and he will connect you up with Michael and his team. Thanks for bouncing that right back at me. I love that. Michael, this was fire, dude. It sincerely was. You didn't invent cabinets. You just engineered a better operating system to execute them and derive value to both franchisees and ultimately to your clients. So I loved it. You documented process, you're protecting margin, you're increasing output per employee, and you built systems that franchise buyers respect. So it's fantastic. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Joe. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you to the entire audience for listening in. We sincerely appreciate you. Until next time, continue to build strategically and create legacy that lasts. Have a great day, everyone.